George Russell is racing unleashed at Williams, while Sir Lewis Hamilton needs more grunt to fight for an 8th crown. You can now watch full 24-minute episodes of The Inside Line at our official home on unbeaten.com. Williams driver George Russell says the squad's 16-point advantage over rival Alfa Romeo has unleashed him for maximum attack over his last 5 races with the historic British squad. Russell has played a cautious game in recent races to bank points, which he last did in Italy and in Russia, but says it's gloves off in the final events. I think in this position, where we are now in the championship, we have got this small buffer, and it's allowing me to go out there and really push the limits, he said. Russell is also riding a wave of confidence given his switch to Mercedes from 2022, one the Silver Arrows hope he can capitalize on.
If he has any other opportunity by end of this season, I hope he will not miss any possibilities and any opportunity. So first we have to finish the job, and even racing with Williams, he's still preparing next year.
Mercedes has defended its race strategy for Sir Lewis Hamilton in Austin, admitting it was helpless against Max Verstappen, with Red Bull managing his last stint perfectly for tyre life at the end. Hamilton took the lead from pole sitter Verstappen into turn 1, but was undercut at the first stop. And while the Brit went 8 laps longer on the second stint for a tyre delta, Red Bull had him covered.
It's difficult to really know what would have happened if we stopped a lap earlier or a lap later. But what you're reliant on really for the strategy to work is Verstappen to run out of tyres, and they didn't really do that until it was too late.
As for whether a one-stop was possible for Hamilton?
No. Let's move on.
Anglo Thai racer Alex Albon may be confirmed as a Williams driver from 2022, but in the meantime he's helping Red Bull rookie stablemate Yuki Tsunoda get up to speed at AlphaTauri. Tsunoda has had a tough debut campaign with Red Bull's sister squad, with Austin his first point since the summer break, but Albon has been providing casual advice on how to further improve. F1 had a break last weekend, but there was action aplenty at Monza, with a huge crash in the final race of this year's Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Prema Racing driver David Vidalis was chasing the leader, his teammate Dino Beganovic, but took them both out at the second chicane after he went wide and was launched over a sausage curb. The pack passed the pair, with Ardent driver Nicola Marinangeli having to take avoiding action onto the grass that put him into the barrier. Isaac Hadjar won the race, and Gregoire Saucy the title. US racing firm Andretti Autosport's push for a stake in the Sauber Group and a spot on the F1 grid is over, with the two parties unable to come to a deal. Andretti was chasing a majority stake, reportedly €350 million for 80% in Islero Investments, the controlling company behind the Sauber Group and Alfa Romeo Racing in F1. But while Sauber's Swedish billionaire owner Finn Rausing was said to be happy with Andretti's figure, his request for an additional €250 million to be paid up front to guarantee the team's future was a step too far for the American firm. Andretti's failure to close the F1 deal means his star IndyCar driver Colton Herta will likely stay stateside, for now at least. Australia could be set for sprint qualifying next year, with the promoters set to talk with Formula One this month on the event's format. F1 is keen for sprint qualifying to feature at up to 7 events in 2022, 4 more than this year, with Silverstone, Monza and Brazil ahead the initial tests. But Melbourne could be the next, with talks to follow the upcoming triple header in Mexico, Brazil and Qatar. Melbourne is already expecting an earlier race start time, with its April 10 date the weekend after daylight savings ends there. While it's hoped a fourth DRS zone down the new, much longer back straight will improve overtaking as part of a circuit revamp.
The big change was at turn 13, which is now turn 11, the removal of the chicane along Lakeside, and then what that potentially leads to is a fourth DRS zone.
F1 hasn't raced in Africa for more than 28 years, but Sir Lewis Hamilton has again thrown his support behind the sport's return. F1 last raced on the continent in 1993, with the South African Grand Prix at Kyalami the opening round, with the Johannesburg circuit expected to reprise its role within the next few years. And Hamilton says it's a place that's dear to his heart. There's a great following out there, and I think it would be great to be able to highlight just how beautiful the motherland is, he said. F1 last visited South Africa in 2019, with Red Bull putting on a city show run in Cape Town, and David Coulthard left impressed by the response.
I've been really blown away by the level of the fan base for the automobile and for motorsport in general here in South Africa. And I know of the rich history with previous world champions and previous Grand Prix championship races in South Africa, but I hadn't appreciated just the level of enthusiasm, because it's been some time since there's been a Grand Prix here in the country.
F1's current power unit grid penalty system is set to stay into the future, with the sports power brokers unable to think of an alternative. In the current regulations, penalties are handed out for each component used over the initial allocation, with the first additional component costing 10 grid places, and after that, it's 5 for each. But while the penalties are confusing for casual fans, making it tough to understand grid order, team bosses are keen to avoid an arms race. What we need to avoid is that we are building power units in a way that they perform at peak performance for only a few races, said Mercedes chief Toto Wolff. Former F1 driver JeanEric Vergne says his intense mentality at then Toro Rosso and lack of political savvy cost him his shot at Red Bull's top team. Vergne made his debut with then Toro Rosso turned AlphaTauri in 2012 and scored points in just his second race in Malaysia. But the Frenchman said to F1's official podcast Beyond the Grid, he didn't see it as a reason for the squad to celebrate at the time.
I was like, okay, it's not bad. And when I came in the garage, everybody was kind of celebrating like if I would have won a race and congratulating me. And I was like, okay, that's nice, but it put me kind of off, you know.
Vergne, who left F1 at the end of 2014 and has since gone on to twice lift the Formula E title, also lamented his then undercooked political skills that he may have used to rise up Red Bull's ranks.
Let's say that I left too many blanks and I left too many things up to luck and not up to me. So yeah, I should have taken things a little bit more in my hands.
The FIA's Formula One Medical Rescue Coordinator, Dr. Ian Roberts, says he can see the cars moving towards having a fighter jet-style closed canopy in the future as the next step on from the Halo. The Halo cockpit protection device was introduced from the 2018 season, despite purists railing against it. But Dr. Roberts can see the concept going much further than a titanium wishbone.
Actually enclosing the driver and moving away from single-seaters might actually be the next big step, but that's really very, very controversial. You know, we hear a lot about DNA, it alters the DNA. Well, DNA alters, it's evolution, you know.
The Halo again proved its strength at Monza this year, when the device saved Sir Lewis Hamilton's life, after Max Verstappen's Red Bull car was launched on top of his Mercedes. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.